Okay, I think we're got a few people coming in, but we'll go ahead and get started. Well, welcome everybody. The weather's getting nicer and people are still coming indoors to see us, which is good. That's a plus. Although I think it's supposed to get a little rainy this afternoon, but it was nice coming in, nice cool spring day. So I'd like to, little WD-40 for that. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Rob Bendix. I'm the Seattle Revit User Group President. And so, of course, we'd like to welcome everybody to another edition of the SeaRUG 2013. Our group, we are a AEC for those. Yeah. And, all right. Let me try that again. We are, yeah. You need a can like the size of a fire hydrant. Get up there. Okay, well, SeaRUG, we're an AEC community technology group with an emphasis on Revit, BIM, and collaboration. We're a free collaborative learning environment designed to benefit all of our disciplines. So I want to thank everybody for coming out and joining. I always like to ask a little question based off of today's presentation. So if you saw what the presentation was, so who here in your firms right now are trying to really leverage Revit to evolve and enhance your documentation that you're delivering? Just kind of like push the envelope a little bit, not settling for that CAD. That's good. That was actually more than half the hand. So I think it's, for a lot of groups, it actually kind of takes a while to get adapted to see some of these new resources you have at your fingertips. And it's a different mindset knowing that you can easily grab and do some of these things, whereas before it was a little bit more of a challenge. And so I think people are slowly embracing that and really enhancing their documentation for the good of everybody. Of course, we can't have these meetings without our sponsors. So I'd like to, of course, recognize our executive partners. PPI Group is actually hosting today, so thank you to them. ID8 and Imagine Technologies, as well as our premier partners this year, Tetra 4D, Canon Solutions America, and Quarry Group. And of course our associative partners, a lot of the firms in the area, groups in the area that support what we're trying to do. Wood Harbinger, Fry-Heidenhoff Architects, GLY Construction, Mulvaney G2 Architecture, Leidig Construction, PCS Structural Solutions, FSI Consulting Engineers, and Inventrix Engineering. If I missed any, if something came in recently, sponsorship, I'm sorry, I will get you up on the next time for sure, but if you are interested in sponsoring as an associate partner this year, you can go to our SeaRUG.org site and go to the sponsorship info page, and you'll see some information about sponsorship there. Okay, so meetings. I've been kind of pushing this recently. We're, over the past few months, we're on SeaRUG. SeaRUG is on YouTube now. All of our meetings that we used to post on our website are now posted on YouTube. We're getting lots of good hits. You can subscribe to the channel, so you get all the updates that get posted, new meetings that come up. You get notified in your email if you're a signed up member on YouTube, which is free. We want to put we'll still put our handouts and stuff since we can't post all that up there. So if you want the handouts or the slides from the presentation, things like that that we talk about, those are, you go to our website and you can get those under our downloads page. Speaking of this, actually, I omitted this from the kind of an announcement that's not on the slide, but talking about the SeaRUG page here, I'll talk about it now. I mentioned earlier, like last month, we were talking about moving to a new website. And so what we are going to do is, there's going to be more information to come, so it's more of a FYI to look for your emails from us, from SeaRUG. We're going to be moving to a site called Meetup. How many is familiar with the Meetup sites? A lot of organizations, a lot of groups, nonprofits. There are other Revit user groups across the country that use meetup.com for their websites, for their posting for meetings. And so when you do when you register for meetings, it'll go through that site. You can, so we're basically going to be sending out some emails to get everybody to come to the site, log on. It's free, just like SeaRUG, but we're going to slowly transition to there. So, like meetings and things like that, invitations will go out through Meetup, and then your reminders are in there, and you can set it up how you want to receive feedback and whatnot. So yeah, we'll be slowly migrating to that. I think within the next week or two, you'll see some emails coming out. So please, to make sure that you get updates from that, so you get signed up. Get onto that page right away, because I think our next month will be starting to register through the Meetup site. We may do both just to make sure we get coverage of everybody, but yeah, definitely get on that when you see the email. So, more information to come on that. Okay, of course, Revit Technology Conference is coming up this summer, July 11th through 13th. Of course, registration information is available at rtcevents.com, so go check that out if you're interested in that. It's like Autodesk University hardcore Revit BIM all the way. Best way to describe it. How many got the email about the cloud credits? Yeah, anybody decided to dive in to see what the heck this cloud credits for rendering is? I just did it the other day, sort of. Well, I'll just give you the little synopsis, kind of focusing on what it is for Revit. How many people use Revit rendering, the cloud rendering service? Okay, so if you raise your hand, it affects you, period. Whether you really don't have any say in it, unfortunately. But then again, it's not that bad a deal. I guess it really depends on how much you're using it. So you get these credits. For every subscription that you have, you get 100 credits. For every software license you have on subscription. So if you have a single, Revit Architecture, Revit MEP, and it's on subscription, you get 100 credits a year for that. If you have, Building Design Suite Premium, you get 100 credits for one of those licenses. So it doesn't matter how big or small the package is, you get the same credits. But it's pooled for all your users, and each of your users, so you actually see when you do the rendering, cloud rendering from AutoCAD, from Revit, currently you'll see the new dialog box, you'll actually see when you're logged in, you'll actually see how many credits you have available, and depending on what type of rendering you select, you'll actually see how many credits you'll use on it. So it actually it does keep you informed about how you're using it. And you can also, as an administrator, you can allocate, who uses the rendering credits and who doesn't. So you can actually set that in your user preferences as an administrator. So the actual user doesn't have the column if they are now. You do as the administrator for the account. So, but if you do a lot of small little renderings, just test renderings, the small and medium for standard quality are free, so you can still go to town on those all day long, and it won't affect your credits. It's only for the larger, it's like all your final renderings and the larger ones as well. And they actually bumped up their resolution now. So you can, it's not, you remember it had that 2000 by 2000 limit? Now it's like 4000 by 5, I don't know, it's up there. I can't remember what it is, but they basically doubled their highest resolution. So you can do nice large format boards and stuff. So anyways, yeah, go check it out. You can talk to your resellers. There's information online as well. And you can actually buy credits. It's like $1 a credit, basically, is what it comes out to be. And you buy them in blocks of 100. So if you do online rendering, if you do those sort of sites, you know, it's actually still a pretty good deal compared to a lot of the other costs out there. So I guess it just depends on what you're, you know, what you're looking to get out of your deliverable. Okay, 2014 release date is soon. You're like, oh, I'm gonna know. No, sorry, I know how to do that. Although I will say that in talking to, I was reading some blogs and stuff, typically it's within 30 days of the release. So the release was March 26th, the announcement. So by April 26th we should know, or sometime therein. So basically just keep your eye out. You've already probably seen AutoCAD's released. Max just got released recently. Now these are obviously the standalone ones, but if you're on the suites or Revit alone, should be seeing those announcements here very soon. And of course, there's a lot of information out there for all the products. The YouTube, Autodesk.com, of course, all of our great resellers in the area have information on their sites, new feature stuff. Some of them are doing presentations and such. And of course, this whole new look with the Origami R. It's kind of interesting. The first thing I thought about was that color. All of the, say it one more time? All the new features and all the help files are on the Autodesk Wiki help page now. So yes, thank you. And that color, just like last week, I was looking at that color, I was like, oh, that color reminds me of something. And who's old school Revit? Pre-Autodesk Revit. That's like the color was like the first couple releases of Revit, that's the color they used. That blue, that kind of sapphire. So, interesting. I wonder if there was any tie in there. I don't know. Have no idea. But I just thought that was an interesting observation I made. I was like, hey, a little blast from the past. A little retro. What's old is new again, right? Okay. So, of course, on to the sponsor recognition. So, as I mentioned before, I mentioned all of our sponsors. We definitely appreciate all of their support because obviously without them we can't put on these great events, you know, hold it in an environment that's a great building, support the website, the video posts that we do from our meetings and all these things, lunches. So we definitely appreciate them in helping to make all this possible. And so this month's sponsor is the PPI Group. And so I would like to introduce our sponsor recognition representative, as well as today's presenter, Eugene O'Day. So, thank you.
How's everybody doing? Good. Does everybody know who PPI is? Show your hands. Now, who's had a presentation with me before? Show of hands. Okay, because you're going to hear this word a lot, show of hands, today. That's pretty much my presentations. Can we get the front lights dimmed just a little bit more? Excellent. So here's a couple little, I guess you would call brag points about PPI. One of the things that we do have is what we call a Revit briefcase. Last time I was here, I kind of demoed a Revit briefcase, which is a bunch of little tools in Revit. We do have a new release of that, and if you want to go check out the new stuff, you can go to our website and you can just basically watch the video of the new release. I'm not going to show that here today. Who's using release 13 right now? Show of hands. Anybody using release 12 or below? A couple folks. Okay. Now, Rob talked about 14. 14 is shipping. So the 3 flavors all by themselves are actually shipping. I think it shipped last week. So you can download those if you wish. But the suites are not. So the suites were supposed to come out the 12th. So figure in the next couple weeks we'll see those as well. I'm going to show you 14 today. So I am going to show you or have 14 loaded. As far as the appearance goes, there's really not much difference. I'm going to show you a couple things that are new based upon my presentation, though, for that. So here's kind of the idea of what we're going to talk about today. Really, it's about inspiring you. How's that? So these are just really tips and tricks. I'm going to talk about basically just little things about Revit, and hopefully some of you know these things. Hopefully most of you know a lot of these things. But that's really what's going to be, tips and tricks, and then some type of way of inspiring you to take Revit to that next level. Sound good? See, I can see you guys, so. All right. So getting real, or keeping it real, basically is using the visual styles box and using view templates. How many people know what a view template is? How many people know how to create a view template? Okay, could be different. How about filters? All right, getting a good idea of my audience here. Excellent. All right, so I'm going to start off very basic. Visual styles, hidden lines, shaded views, realistic, rendering. So in the realist or the visual styles, we actually have ray tracing, which was a 13 tool. How many people here are using the ray trace tool right now? Okay, not a lot. Okay. But we also have ambient shadows. Shadows by themselves, but also ambient shadows are inside there as well. How many people are using ambient shadows? All right, so new to 13, we have the ability to apply background images to elevations and sections, but we also have the ability to add images to those as well. There's a couple little things in 14 that I noticed about the images, that when we go off and we place them, if we tweak the image a bit and we want to go back and tweak it, we got to remove the image and basically do it again. So it's going to, I don't know if that was a 13 thing, but definitely in 14, it caught me a couple times during my presentation. Let's talk about shadows and lighting. Do you guys like that picture? Or this one? Yeah. So give it some shadows. Give it some depth to it. In the 2013 version, any of your RPCs are now rendered in realistic. And realistic is a pick of a button and a couple seconds versus a render. Very powerful. Edge profiles. What's an edge profile? Anybody know what that is? Basically silhouetting around the edges, and you can apply any type of line style to that. And then in release 13, or actually release 12, they added that to realistic. So out of the box right now, it is checked, and you're going to get the top image versus the bottom image. All right, let me show you some things. This is 14, as he mentioned, the big R. All right, so background images. So if I go down to my visual styles and I go and hit the graphic display options, we have background images. I can say that I want to grab an image. I can go and say, let's customize the image. Let's go grab the image. Let's grab the orange sunset here. And then when I say OK, I can go off and apply that. And there's that image to an elevation. And then I can just quickly say, you know what? I want to go realistic to that as well. There's your seconds. So pretty quickly to get our trees, to get the shadows and all that stuff automatically set up on that. How quick was that? Quick. All right, let's take it a step further here. How many people have dealt with and played with these options here? Show of hands. That's good. That's good. So first off, you got your visual styles. Which one do you want? I'm going to go and say I want realistic for this. And then there's those edges right there automatically turned on. And then here's our silhouettes. Which one do you want? I'm going to make it really ugly with our PPI demo lines to start off with. I'm going to go and say apply. And we're going to get some really pinkish things happening, just so you can actually see in the back row. But that's applying those profile lines. So you think about what kind of line weights do you want to assign to these edges, and you can apply that by creating a line style. And then we can drop it down the next step here and go to shadows, and there's your casting shadows and there's your ambient shadows. If we do have shadows, I'm going to go and change my lighting here. So let me pop up there and say I got shadows go on. There's my lighting, and you can kind of see the shadow right there. So I'm going to go and say, you know what, let's boost that up a little bit. Let's apply that. So really what you're doing is you're adjusting these lights to get your look and feel. And of course you can play with this all day long, right? to get there. And then once you have that, then you just go down to the next thing. There's photorealistic. This is something that we got in 13 that before we had to do it in render. And all you get this is the render tools. And so I'll make sure to turn it on with an automatic feature. I'm going to go ahead and say, let's apply that. Kind of washes it out a little bit more, kind of brightens it up. And then I can go off and do a manual tweak to it. Or I can go in and do some image correction, like I really want it to be a yellow instead of a white. Cool. So again, we're just playing with these things. Once we have these done, we can go, again, throw in a background image. Let's go to a different one here. I'm stretching that one, that looks good. And let's apply it. And there it is. So now what I've done is set up a view that I kind of like, not really, but I kind of like. And once I have this tweaked, what can I do? I can create a view template of this. So all I have to do is just click onto it, give it a name, okay it. And then I can go to another view and I can apply that template to this view. Simply by going over to the View tab, saying Apply Template, grabbing my template, and applying my template. Not really great with the sun. But we're going to talk about temporary templates a bit later on today. For those people who are using 13 and View templates, do you like them? Okay, some people do, some people don't. The thing on the View templates in 13 is once you applied it, it's locked. If you assigned it to the view. Assign it to the view. So right now it's not assigned to the view. I just said apply this template. So if I go look over my buttons here, I can change any of these little buttons here like, oops, wrong button. I want that back on. I can change my path and say, let's look at this at maybe 10 o'clock in the morning. And notice the actual shadow changed, but I applied a template to it. Now if I go over to my properties window, which I turned off for the screen size, there is no view template assigned, and if I assign this view template, what I'm basically telling it is I'm locking that information down. Went back, shadow went back, and then these buttons are pretty much grayed out now. I'm not really allowed to go change these buttons. That's a view template. All my little buttons there. Here we go. All right. Different perspective. I'm not talking about just camera views, I'm talking about isometrics as well. How do I do this in Revit? Not the animation, creating those types of views. Anybody? Not Chris. Section boxes, okay? So who knows how to manipulate a section box? That's a tough word for my Irish tongue. Okay. How about orient to a view? Basically what we're doing is cutting a section in this case and orient an isometric view to that. And in the 13 versions, if we lock the view down to new functionality, we could actually tag or label that information. And in 2014, we can use material tags now. When you're creating your images, put yourself in there. How are you, when you walk into this room here, what do you want your audience to see? As a presenter, I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be looking up here. As a user, I'm going to be sitting in one of those things, looking down or looking at the projector, right? So think about that. When you have a balcony, you want to look over the balcony and you want to look at something on the balcony. If you have a a residential downtown, a couple of the high rises here, and you're looking out in the city, wouldn't it be nice to have a picture of what that person is seeing? An image of the background, an image of that? When we render, we have the ability to also add images to our renders. Now the projector is not going to do this next one justice, but not a lot of people are doing nighttime renders. But it tells a powerful story. Think of this one right here, that one right there. That right there is an image. Just basically somebody went out there, took a snapshot of what's going on in that site, and put that image in the render, or put that image in the elevation, section, or isometric perspective view. Tell that story. How many people here have actually rendered a floor plan? Not a lot. That's a powerful thing right there. Very easy to do. Gone are the days of our old CAD cover sheets. Or at least they should be gone. Okay? Tell a story. That's what that cover sheet's about, right? It's not just information, it's a story, but it's also the image that you want to present. All right. Let's start off with that floor plan view. So best practice. Start with your doghouse view, which is what I call that right there, the default view, because it looks like a doghouse. Right-click it, save the view. Give it a name, give it an appropriate name. 3D View 2 is not a great name, but I'll leave it there. And then what? You're going to right-click the cube. I'm going to go and say Orient to a view. That's a floor plan view. Which one? I want the ground level. There's my start. I also have a view template that I have created, but I'm going to use a 14 option. It's called a temporary view template, right down in the bottom here. You see, let's look at this floor plan rendering one. And what it's going to do is actually close and hide a whole bunch of stuff, turn on realistic, and then I'm just going to basically crop out my views here. And there's that floor plan in realistic. That was how many clicks. Now again, it's not really giving it good justice on the projection screen versus my screen, because the resolution is not the great on the card that I have here. But what else can I do here? Right? Come back to here and start playing with my settings, maybe play with my shadow settings. Oops, let's go to lighting for that. Maybe adjust that a little more like that. Maybe get the sun a little higher, lighten it up. So I can start playing around with these. And I started off with a template, and now I can actually create another template from this. But this is now render. All I have to do is hit the render button, right? Break your head. All right. How about that section view? A lot of people were shaking their heads, but let's do the section view with ambient shadows. So again, right-click. Save the view. We're going to call it. And then we're going to orient to a section view. And let's go ahead and say the office wing. Rotate it around. And let's basically drag the box out. Too far. There we go. And I'm just going to go and turn on my ambient shadows. Shadows, let's go and cast some shadows. Let's do ambient. I'm not liking that. What's going on there? Let's look at the light. I'm in my session here. Let's go ahead and create a still. Let's grab a predefined still. That's what I'm talking about. And then start adjusting to your look and feel. Cool? Yes, no? All right. So how did I create that other image? What did I do? Basically, I just saved this as a snapshot, and then what? Just moved it, saved it again, moved it, saved it again. And then PowerPoint just did the actual play for me. So if I just go shadows off is what Rob's asking. So if I go off here and say, you know what, I don't want that, I just want that. There we go. All right. By the way, all the pictures, with the exception, I think 4, are rendered in Revit. This is actually like 2008-ish or 9-ish or something, which was AccuRender at the time. Clicker go. Where's my Posse? Right there, actually. Trees, bushes, cars. This makes the render. Not just the materials, but the stuff in there. Just like a photo. If you're taking a photograph, it's all the other stuff that's happening. It's the garbage cans, it's the drapes, it's these other things, right? Who uses, is it ArcVision? Is that correct? Who's using ArcVision right now? Who's heard of ArcVision right now? Okay, go investigate. ArcVision is basically another product that has RPCs. So it's a product that you can get RPCs from. I'm going to concentrate on trees because I have limited time. That's a 2009 tree. You guys remember those? Actually, I kind of like the old trees because they had different, when you render them, they had different seasons and had different stuff. But think about that now. When we are doing these things, we do want to talk about trees that don't have leaves, right, at different times. So when you're rendering, you're not just rendering today, you're rendering the seasons as well. And think about, we can take this tree and we could actually apply an RPC to that. And I'm going to show you how to do that. But let's say that at a certain level of the game, I don't want to go ahead and show a full render, but I do want to show some trees. So maybe at a medium level of detail, show me this look, but a fine level of detail, show me this look. And we can take that in our families and do that. But don't forget about trees that actually cast shadows. Go find some of those trees. They may be a little big, but how many trees are you going to have in your view? They may be, but it's going to be worth that casting of the shadow. When you're looking at your sites, remember to put that stuff in your sites. How do I do the road sign? How did I do that? Somebody said 3D text, right? Model text. Model text. That's all. That's a 3D Studio Max render. All right. Let's take a look at some of these trees here. Pull that one out a little bit. So these are kind of AutoCAD-ish trees, and they actually do render pretty well, and they do cast shadows very well. We got kind of a creepy looking Halloween thing going on there, right? So that's kind of a dead tree because it doesn't have any leaves, so that'd be a great for winter, right? What's that? Yeah, it is kind of hovering, yeah. I just threw it in there last night. I didn't worry about the height and stuff. So here's another tree, and then that's that 2009 tree. And if I go off and I throw in some shadows right now, you can see that I'm getting some nice leaf coverage, and then there's a tree behind me that's actually shadowing this as well. And at this stage of the game, this is pretty good, but let's say that I want to boost up this level here, and I want to take this particular tree, and I want to add an RPC to it. So I'm just going to flip over so I can hit my Edit Family button. I'm going to grab onto the tree, and in the Properties window, oops, not the tree, the actual view. And I want to come down here and say the render appearance is going to be third party. And then there it is. So now what I'm going to do is go and say, well, this particular one is going to show up in coarse, medium, but not fine. And this one right here is going to show up only in fine. This is stuff that we can do with families. Go ahead and I'll just load it in my project. Overwrite it. I'll go back over to here, close that down. And now at a medium level of detail, this is what I'm seeing. And at a fine level of detail, that's what I'm seeing. And if I go over to realistic now, I will get the pretty picture. So see what I'm talking about when I'm talking about staging of different times of your renders? Maybe at this stage it needs to look this way, but at the end of the day, end of the project, we're going to have some real pretty pictures. Everybody's quiet. I'm not hitting any questions. All right. Let's close that one down. This is the fun part for me because you guys get to answer the questions. This is a hidden line view. How do I make the bottom look like the top? And again, Chris can't answer the question. Surface override. So basically what I'm doing is overriding a particular feature in a hidden line view. Let's take that a step further. Here is a typical elevation. But wouldn't it be nice to be able to give it some depth, some texture? Because when I plot that out, I kind of want it to look like that. Is that cool? That useful? Somebody shake their head, yes or no? Possibly. How about this? Would you like the one on the left or the one on the right? Which one's showing you depth? Okay. And is this a matter of setting up possibly a view template, setting up filters? I've done some sun today already. So everybody knows about the sun? Sun studies, but we can also do what with it? It's for rendering as well. What's one of the most important things to make sure is set if you want to get an accurate study and accurate shadows? Location, what else? True north. Where is true north? Who knows how to do that? Okay, I guess I'll show that one. Think about your sun. This is basically the same camera view rendered 4 ways. Sunset, midday, or sunset, midday, sunrise, and nighttime. All by setting up the sun. And of course in the nighttime, setting up the artificial lighting. Who knows about transparency? Everybody should show their hands on this one. This is like the key one. Good. Who knows how to do that? Put this on a sheet of paper, and I want to show elevations, and I want to show a gradient fill on a sheet of paper. 2 different ways to do that. There's a 12-way, and then there's a 13-way. Anybody? All right. We'll show it. Rob mentioned render to the cloud. I have a ton of credits. Okay. Now I have a ton of credits because we're an ATC. And as an ATC, we have 50 licenses per site. So I have a lot that we can use. But there's telling you the credits, and I'll go look at the actual maximum image size so we can look at that as well. But this is something that if you have subscription, utilize if you have it. Do you want to watch you want your machine to sit there and take off rendering, walk away, or would you rather it render to the cloud and still use your machine? That's what it's all about. So for scripting users, you have this ability. In the 13 version and on the suites, you have this workflow option that I didn't talk about last time I was here because it wasn't shipping at that point in time. And Autodesk promised a one-click thing. It's really like 3-ish or more clicks. But this right here is something I got out of Max. So Max is just not huge, pretty pictures. This is a 9-click thing in Max. Now you can go, well, Eugene, I can do that in Photoshop. Well, yeah, you can. This is dynamic. If I change Revit and I do the workflow properly, this will update as well. Can you do that in Photoshop? No. So that's part of the suites. That's part of the idea of the suites. And if you set it up right and you do it right, then it basically is kind of one-clickish once you get done setting it up. Man, don't forget about design options with rendering. Here's 4 different options for the client on that curtain wall system. Now, I can't remember who the client was on this one. I have a PowerPoint that shows all the client names for these pictures. This is huge. This is a lot of work, but actually the curtain wall for what they did wasn't a lot of work because they had a bunch of parameters and adaptives and all that good stuff going on. But that right there tells a story, and they get to choose, right? And hopefully they don't choose one and then 5 weeks later choose B, right? Never happens, right? All right. All right. Let's start with the sun. Probably should bring this up. There we go. All right. So, site plan. In the site plan, what are these right here? Go ahead, Chris. Project base point and survey point. That's very important for where north is because it's all keying off of where your points are. So if I come over here and I say, well, you know what? It's not project north. I want my site to show true north. And when I come over here to the Manage tab, I'm allowed to go into my locations and rotate where north is. But before I do that, let's go and turn on a little shadow here. There we go. I think that shadow's in the background there. So I'll come over here and I say that I want to change my project north, or rotate true north, I should say. See, it's keying off of where that point is. So it's important to first position it. There's north. This is where I want north to be. Notice the shadows are adjusting based upon that. So one of the first things we want to do is, where is north of our building? And then we start tweaking it. The floor plans are not moving because the floor plans are set to true north, or project north, which is straight up. Okay? So just the site plan is moving around, but anything that's rendering or anything that shows shadows are casting based upon that north. This is one of my favorite ones. Basically, if I just want to add a color to something, I'm just going to tab to it. Let's get one of those panels there. So we have solid panels and we have glass panels, and I'm going to override by the category. So right-click and override, element, category, filter. I'm going to say category. I'm going to change the surface pattern. Let's get a little darker blue there. And then I'm going to go and say, let's choose a solid fill for that. Okay. There it is. So it's a hidden line, but I want to show something a little different versus using shade. or consistent colors, which is all the cartoon colors. Here I'm saying I want a cartoon color just for this specific item. Right? So taking that step and applying it to elevations. So again, why is this doing that? Anybody have an idea what's going on? I haven't done any overrides or anything. What's happening with my wall? So if I look at the actual properties of the wall, coarse scale, there's my pattern. So if I say, well, give it a little darker gray, there's the darker gray. Okay. And again, I can take, let's say, the door, let's get rid of that, and I can go ahead and do the override on the door. Oop, not category. Let's do it by element. And let's give kind of a brownish. And there's the door. And then I can go into, let's say, visibility graphics, set up some filters for the other stuff. So I already set up a filter. I'm going to show you how to do one here real quickly. But what I want to do is just go into my colors. Let's say I want a brown. Make that solid. Let's make this orange. Feeling more in a fall mood. Let's give this one a little gray. And being Irish, let's give it a little green. There we go. Pretty quick. Render that or plot this to halftone, right? Apply this as a view template or create this as a view template. So let's come over here. Let's go ahead and say, let's create the template from this one. Okay. And let's come over here. So right now, if I go off and I say, let's apply that, why didn't the door change? Excellent. Because I did element, not category. So if I would have said category, then the door would have changed as well. But let's say that in this case, I want to take the door and the wall and I want to give it a little bit more depth or basically give it some more outlines around the actual lines themselves. Now I could do this in visibility graphics, but I want to be able to repeat this. So that would be a filter, right? Or a template. Okay? So let's do a filter. So there's our filters. I'm going to go and say I want to add a filter. What do you want to call it? Or new. And then what do you want to call it? Well, let's keep it for that. And then I'm using plain Jane Revit architecture, but I still get all of these other options to uncheck. So if I'm, even though I'm using the suite or not the suite, I still can uncheck those. I'm going to say that this is going to be for doors and walls. And over here, I'm going to grab a filter by and a parameter, but I haven't created the parameter yet. So I'm going to go and say, well, let's add a parameter here. And there's none there, so I'm going to go and add it. And I'll say walls and doors. I'll make it an instance, put a text, and I'll put it in the other category. And then it's going to be assigned to doors and walls. Okay. 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 So now what? I want to give the lines a little fatter lines. Oops. Wrong side of the box. When I apply that, what did it do? Give them just those. Now I didn't do that one, so what, to get the wall, what would I do? Give you a hint. So it's cutting. I'm cutting the wall, so I come over here and add it to the wall. And now that wall popping out. That is a filter. And there's a way of assigning, instead of using the silhouette, which you would have done what? All lines. This is just narrowing down particular types of lines. All right. Any questions? We having fun? Everybody's quiet. Shoot.
Earlier it showed the color render max.
Yes.
Can you do color schemes in render max?
Yeah. Yeah, so the question was, I did kind of it was actually called a graphite, I think is what the term was, basically a pencil. And can I do other types of things within from Revit to Max? You have all of Max. So all really what it's doing is bringing your file into Max, and you have all the Max capabilities that Max has.
Back off where you showed the floor plans
Oh, sure.
here, and it's all colored and rendered.
Mm-hmm.
So can you apply like legends, color scheme legends over room?
No, because it's a 3D view. So I would have to do that in a floor plan view, which I could. So I can just do it in the floor plan view and add some shadows and shading to that. Yeah. Yeah. Oop, lost my key. All right. I know everybody's waiting for 14, right? What is that? I have no clue what that is. Anybody know what that is? But that's the splash screen now. So when you launch Revit 14, that's what you're going to get. That little splash screen, that's what you get. It's like, okay, all right. So we talked about view templates. So it's a temporary view template is what it is. So think of that as like hide and isolate temporary things. So if I close Revit down and restart Revit, it's going to go back to the original one. Okay, so it's kind of taking on that same look and feel to that. We have a new material box now, once again. But on this particular one, I've noticed that on the machines at our office, that we have a whole bunch of different ones we tested on, that it's not crashing. So for those people that have had the material box kind of crash on you because it's got those two little boxes happening, I haven't seen that happen in the newest release. Anybody else seen those issues on theirs that have been playing with it? Okay. There's a different little process. I'm going to kind of show you how to work around that. And then we have split elevations. So think of split elevation just like a split section. So taking a section and splitting that line, we can do that to elevations as well now. We could also have irregular or non-rectangular shaped callouts as well in 14. Very cool. Yeah. But there's always that but caveat. When we say right click, orient to a view and grab those, it's still going to be a box shape. It's not going to find the irregular shape or the crooked shapes of the 3D isometric views. But I do know they're working hard to get that in there. So we'll see how long it's going to take them. And I think one of my favorite features is this one right here, displacement. Basically taking something and exploding it. Cool, huh? Now I wish there would be just an automatic explode, like Inventor has. Just pick a button, just does it, you know. But no, it doesn't. So we're going to talk about that one as well. So those are the things that we're going to do. And that, I believe, is a max render. But I'm not sure. All right. All right, so let's talk about the material box here. And I haven't found that they've moved any buttons either, so that's always a good thing, right? Buttons don't move around. So there's our out-of-the-box material box. So we don't get the two things happening anymore, kinda. We do have this little button right here that goes into basically the physical and the thermal, and it goes into the asset section of the box. So what I'm going to do is scroll down here and look for clapboard. So I'm going to duplicate that one, give it a name, And then over in appearance here, we have this little asset option right here that if I change the material, it's actually going to change both of these. So what I'm going to do is say, make sure I'm in the right one. I'm going to make a copy so I have a different one now. I'm going to go and grab my little button there to go look for my material. This is the one I got off of Hardy board. Basically just had a little JPEG of it, just took a snapshot on that. And then this box has changed, so you have to watch about this box. I've noticed different times that it changes in the look and feel of it. I haven't figured out what's going on, maybe because I have a different version of happening. But sometimes these numbers come off with metric numbers versus feet and inches, and I haven't figured out why, but it's done that. And so I'm going to unlock that and say that this is actually 12 feet, because I can buy them in 12. And I want to show the 6-inch exposed for that. Cool. And then I'm going to say OK. OK it. And then this is not really a great idea for painting, but with lack of time, I'm going to go and use the paint tool. Grab that one. And notice the picture hadn't changed, and it could be my video happening there. But I'll paint those two. And that was a quick, basically taking an image from a site and using that image as a material. And if I zoom close, there it is. Now I've got some off lines going on there. So if I go look at my material and I look at the graphic side of things, there's my 6-inch lines happening. And I could actually take that and I can adjust these lines to match, I went the wrong way, to match the rendered lines. There we go. All right. Let's get rid of that one. That one. All right, so on this elevation, you can see I got the cars and they're kind of floating again. And there's my elevation right here. So if I pick this elevation view, now we have an option to split the segment. So when I go and click onto that, where you want to split it, so again, it's just like a section view and where you want it to go. Automatically split it, got rid of my cars. Of course, I could have hid those, right? Okay, but think about sections, think about elevations, and let's do a quick call out since we have a little bit of time. View, call out. What kind of call out? Let me sketch one. And I'm thinking, I want to go this way. I don't know why. Just feeling the need. There it is. There's my bubble. There it is. Very cool. Now, again, it'd be nice to be able to create a 3D isometric of that, but not yet. Almost. All right. And the favorite tool out of 14. There we go. All right. Pick my part. Displace element. Grab it. Drag it up. There it goes. Pretty slick. Now, there's a couple other things here as well. Let me get a little closer to it. I can go and say, I want this one, I want this one. Get in there. That one, I want that one, I want that one. And I want to grab those. And drag them up. Oh, but I forgot those. So when I pick it, we can edit those. And then I can go and add those. And look what's happening as I add. Very cool, huh? Now I can grab, like I said, multiple things at one time, grab those up. Who knows what a part is in Revit? Okay.
That's view dependent.
What?
That's view dependent.
Yes. So the question Rob asked, is this view dependent? And the answer is yes. So if I go create another 3D view, my walls and floor plans and elevations aren't going to be all tweaked out. Now, and while I'm here, let me do one more thing here. I can add a path to this. So it shows in the path where it kind of goes. Now, if I tweak this like this, I get that. But I can also change on the properties from a straight to a jog as well. All right, so a part. What is a part? Basically what a part is in Revit is taking an existing family and exploding it. So if I take this wall and I say, let's make that parts. Now it's parts. And I can take these parts and I can displace them. Now we have exploded assemblies of our stuff. Right there. Let's go up like that. Cool? Very cool. Okay, and then, like I said, we now have the ability, if the view is locked, which it is down here, to add material tags. Very cool. All right, so timing's about right. So I do want to give some thanks to some of the images that I got. These are some of the folks. Perkins and Wills is where I got the curtain wall, I believe. So at this point, open for questions. Any other business? Chris.
Do you export the exploded views to other applications?
You know, I have not tried. That's a great question. Can we? Okay. So the question was, can I export out our exploded views to other applications? So I'll have to find that out, and we'll maybe post it in the Q&A. That's a great question. It would be nice to be able to take that to Navisworks, right, for the contractors. Other questions? Yes?
The rendering to cloud.
The cloud.
Do you know, I was going to do some research on it, but maybe you know if you looked into it a little bit. Adding the materials from photographs, JPEGs, into the library.
Oh.
The cloud never really took those
Yes,
very well
thank
at
you.
all. Do you know if they collect those all?
I haven't tested it out yet, but that reminds me, I talked about ArcVision. ArcVision. So if we render stuff with that up to the cloud, in the past, they would not come across. So only the RPCs render in true Revit, not the cloud. But I know Autodesk is working on either buying them, which is pretty common, or getting some type of a license agreement with them for the cloud, because it's about a license on the cloud is really what it boils down to. So I'm not sure where they're at with that. But the same thing with the images as well.
Same thing with the material.
Yeah, yeah.
So anything that you render cloud, you still have to develop the native Revit
Right.
in order to work.
Yes. So let me do that real quick here. I'm going to go ahead and say render in the cloud. Okay. And then there's that question on it's pretty big for that. So maximum, a little over 3,000 to 4,000.
Yeah, if you pick it, I think it takes it'll show you how many credits.
7. I think I'd do that. I could spare 7, but not for that. Other questions? All right, I'm going to pass it off to Rob, and don't forget about the drawing, and I'll hang out for Q&A.
All right, thanks a lot, Eugene. Really appreciate you always coming out. It seems like we get you every year, which is really great, so thank you for that. So yeah, thanks, Eugene. He'll be hanging out if you got any follow-up questions. Again, thank you to PPI Group for being executive sponsor for us this year, and they're also going to be our host sponsor for November. And just final reminder, please look for our emails coming out probably the next couple of weeks regarding the meetup site, because we definitely want everybody to get on board with that. All the information will go through there. It'd be great. I don't think it's actually live just yet, so if you look for us, I think it's still offline. But when the email goes out, obviously it'll be online then. It'll launch you there. We'll also have something on our SeaRUG site that'll point you there too when it's ready to go. Our next meeting is May 15th, so hopefully you'll be able to come out and join us for that, and hopefully we'll have the whole meetup registration going by then for that meeting. And that's it.